Komozo, it's 10 o'clock. I think let me hand over to the team.
Yeah, Legau is here, so maybe hi Legau.
Good
Maybe he
morning,
can
good
do the
morning,
intro.
good morning, good morning all. Apologies. We're just running our troops. Mark is just joining. Um, Mofata has apologized. And I think we want to just do a quick recap. Good morning to all the preparing colleagues. Welcome. Thank you all for coming in. Lady, thanks for organizing with our colleagues just to have a quick message. And Mark, you're going to lead us. We're just going to do a quick recap in terms of our presentation from the previous engagement we had. Then we'll get into our Q&A and take it from there. So, Mark, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody in the room. Would it be correct for us to wait a minute or two, or would you like us to start?
I would advise maybe wait a little bit because I see the number is still just over 100 participants. So maybe it might be advisable. What do we see on the other side, Nagari?
110.
Okay, it's still rising. Yeah, so maybe Mark, let's give it another 2 minutes, just around 5:30. Then we will kick off. In the meantime, then Komoto, you can get ready with the presentation there. Right, very good morning to you all. Once again, my time is at 5:30 now, so I think we can kick off.
Okay. Thank you, Luca, and thank you very much. And maybe just by way of introduction, my name is Mark Kingan. I'm part of the furniture here at the South African Revenue Service. I head up the area which deals with the interpretation of law. We call it leveraged legal products. And we will be engaging today on the important issue of third-party data and the provision of third-party data to SARS, and specifically in terms of the context of rental. So with that, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. And really, in the interest of providing clarity, we want to be as transparent as possible, engage in terms of providing information that allows people to understand the scope of the law and very importantly, how this works and how the process unfolds. So that's our intent today. We will obviously see how we handle questions. It's sometimes very difficult when you've got a big room like this to respond in the chat, but let's try and do our best in terms of this to engage today. That is our intent. And obviously, if there are matters that remain unclear after today, we'd be very happy for the practitioners to send us any queries they may have. And I would suggest some type of consolidation of queries that we can provide written response and clear guidance in terms of the matters. So that's our intent today. So thank you very much. Maybe I do want to state up front that this is not a new matter, although we are in the process of trying to ensure that there is compliance with law. But if I just pulled up this morning, just in terms of the 2023 Gazette, and I will just read it, and I'm looking to my one side just to read it off the screen here, is the Gazette that was published on the 30th of June 2023, and there were earlier ones as well, essentially provides that a person who for their own account carries on business as a property practitioner as defined in the Property Practitioners Act of 2019 and who pays to or receives on behalf of a third party any amount in respect of an investment, interest, or the rental of property. And then it goes on to explain various other criteria in this regard, and there's a requirement for the submission of third-party data. And it's a question of how do we do this, and that's why we're here today to engage and provide some certainty to you in terms of this. So it's nothing new. That's what I wanted to reiterate today. It's not new, and in fact, we have not been enforcing it up until now, but we do believe that it's an important aspect for the broader compliance within this market segment. We are concerned, specifically, we had an instance even this past week where a person who's in receipt of rental who is not a resident in the country wasn't registered, and they are required to be registered. So it's very important for us to get this data and to provide that data in terms of our compliance efforts. I know it's a complication in your lives, but that's what we'd like to work with you and to understand the challenges you may face and try and answer the questions. Lekau, with that, I'm going to hand over to you. I'm going to be in the background, and if I need to intervene, I will, in terms of any of the discussion here today. But thank you very much for the opportunity to engage. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. So I would like to just quickly go through, briefly just re-highlight some of the requirements that are related to the third-party data in terms of the ITR requirement for the property practitioner, as we've highlighted in the shared external BRS that is due for consultation here today. And with that, Omotso, are you coming all right with the projection?
Yes, I'm coming around. Just give
All
me a
right.
second. I'll be projecting now.
Good. So Omotso is our lead requirement specification process engineer within the SARS environment. So she's heading the collation and gathering of the requirements for the purpose of the property rental data in this regard. And with that said, Omotso, we are in your hands.
Thank you, Lekau. Good morning, everybody. As Lekau has already introduced, I'm Komoto in the process design engineering team within SARS, and I'll be taking us through the presentation, starting off with lightly covering the background and the purpose as they have already been sufficiently covered by Mark. So SARS has initiated this property rental project to enhance data accuracy and reporting efficiency across third-party data sectors, as well as to create a transparent environment between taxpayers, service providers, and SARS. This will be enabled by introduction of the property rental third-party data, which is the IT3R, where property and legal practitioners will be required to submit detailed rental income and expenses data on behalf of property owners or landlords, if you will, that they represent. Three purposes that will be served by this initiative include accurate capturing of rental income and expenses from property transactions, speedy verification of income and expenses declaration from property owners, and relief of the admin burden created by requests for supporting documents from taxpayers when selected for audits. This project will be introduced in 3 key phases, with phase 1 being represented property owners. These are the property owners that are managed by real estate agents or property practitioners, if you will, and attorneys. Phase 2 will focus on unrepresented property owners. We are talking here about landlords or property owners that will be making their own direct submission. And the final phase will look at the landlords operating in cash-based or unregulated environments. So the scope of phase 1, which is why we are really engaging today, will require both the property practitioners and the legal practitioners, as regulated by the Tax Administration Act, to submit data files on behalf of their clients. And those data files must consist of the following data records. The first one will be the submitting entity data. Here it is the data on the entity making the submission. The second one will be the service recipient demographic data, which really covers the property owner's personal details, your surname, email, contact details, etc., followed by the service recipient financial data that will be highlighting the income and the expenses incurred. The service recipient will be another, service recipient partner demographic data will be another record. Now, with this record, it will only be applicable if the property owner or the landlord is in a partnership, as far as the property that they own is concerned. The tenant's demographic data is another record that will be requested, and names, surnames, contact details will be requested here. And finally, the file trailer, which is a summation of the records that will be submitted. Now, the details or the final details of all that is being discussed here, as far as the records and everything, has been prescribed in the external ITR BRS, which has been shared or will be shared again with the PPRA for distribution to its members. We have also provided multiple submission channels to suit the volume and size of data that will be handled by the different service providers, such as e-filing, which can take up to 20 records from submission by small entities, the HTTPS, which targets the medium-sized upload of up to 50,000 records, and the Connect Direct for records that are 50 plus, tailored for large institutions.
Khomotso, I just want to pause
Yes.
2 seconds, because
Yes.
I see in the chat there's somebody saying, are there meant to be slides? Can we just confirm that people are seeing it, maybe with a thumbs up, please?
Oh.
Okay, people are seeing it. Carry on, please, Khomotso. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. All right, so to button it all up, by involving property and legal practitioners as data submitters, SARS will ensure the rental sector operates transparently, and the planned phased-out rollout, which will gradually expand to include all property owners, whether represented by property practitioners or not represented by property practitioners, which will then reduce the admin burden on the taxpayers and strengthen compliance across the South African rental ecosystem. Thank you all. That is the end of our presentation.
Correct. Thank you. That was just a quick recap of where we were sitting in terms of our reminder of the requirement that we were trying to engage you on and then continue our engagement on today. Now, at this point, I think for some of you, you might have already had the conversation before. So it's nothing new, or maybe there's just a few things that have been clarified in your mind. And if not, we are going to open up the floor uh, for the questions and any clarifications in this case.
Yeah.
Mark?
Could I maybe just kick in first? And I see there
Yeah.
are some questions coming up
Sure.
and in the chat, because I think people are seeing this as something new. The requirement has been in law for many a year, and I just want to re-emphasize that. And I was just looking, it goes back, and you'll see in the chat, I actually posted one from 2016. I'll post in a minute or two one from 2012. So it's not a new thing, but it hasn't been enforced in terms of that. To the question about the burden this places on industry, well, I'm not sure that it does, because our intent is that this becomes quite a seamless process, and we will try and engage and make it better in terms of the submission of data. So maybe the next question, Lakau, that comes up there before we hand over to Zed Salah, I'm not too sure who that is, but is it a monthly or yearly? It is going to be twice annually, is that correct?
That's correct. So we are starting off lightly with our biannual submissions, and that's usually the half-year submission that will be in September, and then the next submission would be for the full year, which would be in the following year in May.
Okay, so let's go through the questions. You handle it, please, and I'll come in if need be.
100%. Thank you. Naledi, I hope you've enabled everybody else that they can come in. You've got a hand. I think Zilo, was this the right hand that is up, or was this the left hand from the previous? Show us if you're okay with this presentation. Okay. Looks like we've got the old hand there.
Can I suggest anybody who's got questions, we're here to help, and really we would like to suggest that if there are, let's go through it. So I don't know who Silo is, but let's move on to Opa Beloy.
Good morning. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. You will pardon me if I will be taking you back. I know this is my first session that I'm attending, so just to make sure that I'm aligning with the webinar. Are we saying this presentation is a new thing? And I'm saying, because from my understanding is that normally the normal way we are doing things, as a property practitioner, maybe handling the rentals on behalf of a particular landlord. Normally what we do, we give the landlord the statements at the end of the year, and then it was the responsibility of the landlord when he or she will be doing personal return to use that information as part of his or her returns to, data that will be filled in. So I just want to confirm that, are we saying SARS now will be opening a new platform where myself as a property practitioner, I will be filing the return on their behalf? Just what I'm saying. Pardon me if I'm taking you back, but I just want to make sure that I align. Thank you very much.
Clark, you carry on. I'll fill in.
Thank you, Opa. Yes, so I think You've got a few things correct there. We just need to clarify a few points. So the aim here is to make sure that we get the correct data from you, and we don't give the opportunity for also our the landlord in this case to make adjustments to those. So you give us the true reflection of what you have in terms of the income and expenses of the property as it stands on a monthly basis for that period that you are reporting. Now, you are not completing the return for the landlord, but all that you're doing is giving SARS the information, and SARS would, at some point when the data is good enough for everyone, especially the data quality I'm talking about, the integrity is up to par, then SARS will use that information to pre-populate the landlord's return. So they wouldn't even have to do a return population and change the information, because we would already have a trusted source from the pre-PRA that has provided us with this information to be able to give a correct reflection of their tax affairs. Right. I hope that covers you. Thumbs up.
So let's just deal with some of the questions quickly in the chat.
Okay.
And I think it's very important. I hear what the people are saying with regards to the liability and the issue with regards to if it's a decision of the landlord or not. No, in this instance, it's an obligation in terms of a person registered in terms of the property practitioners legislation. If they opt out of handling it through you, that is one thing which we'll deal with in terms of the back end of matters. Landlords will not have a choice. This is an obligation to yourselves in terms of the work. And I want to reiterate, it's not new. Yes, we haven't enforced it. It is really not new in terms of this process. In terms of prop-based admin, I think they're opening a very interesting question that we're happy to engage with. Will the CRM systems be able to provide automatic returns to be submitted? That's something we need to maybe understand from the property industry, what CRM software is predominant within the sector, and we'd love to be able to facilitate that because it should happen on a seamless basis. To Komisa's comment with regards to employers, yes, it's very similar to the 501, except with the 501 there is pay-as-you-earn payable, and it's not applicable in this instance, so it's not a withholding tax. But we have a number of requirements for filing. It includes, for example, interest, dividends, and a whole lot of other ones in terms of the process. With regards to not having the expenses, yes, that is understood. And then to the extent that we have the data, we would pre-populate ultimately. But for a start, it will be utilized for our third-party risk engines in terms of dealing with that. I'm just looking what other mails. I see Renee's battling with sound, but that I'm unfortunately not able to deal with myself.
Of course.
But yeah, Lekau, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, let's take Bakang on the voice.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking my question. One, I would like to get clarity in terms of the procurement only rentals. How are we then going to submit for those? Because obviously we just only place the tenant and we hand over to the landlord for them to manage the tenant until such time that the tenant would like to renew or when the tenant leaves. That's the first question. And the second question is unrelated to rentals, but it has something to do with transfer duty. I recently received an email from the conveyancer handling one matter, and SARS is requesting that I give two independent evaluations over and above what the bank has already evaluated. This means that I have to spend money to prove to SARS that the property that I said is selling for a particular amount is valued at that particular amount. I'm not quite sure
Okay.
where SARS is going with that one and how exactly it's supposed to be handled. Also, with in terms of the evaluation, what type of an evaluation are you really looking at from a professional evaluator, or can I send um, like a Lightstone report?
But Con, could I respond? And the first question is a very important one, where you simply obtain the services, you get a tenant, and then you hand it over, and I take it there's a fee attached, and you charge the landlord. You are not paying rental, or the rental's not flowing through you. There wouldn't be a reporting obligation at the moment in terms of that. In terms of the second aspect that you raise, it's unrelated to what we're discussing today, and that relates to transfer duty, specifically where there are concerns when there's a non-arm's length transaction and we have to validate the value of the property. So if I sell to my son, you have to charge at market value. You can't go and undercharge. There's various issues there. So it's unrelated to what we're discussing today, but we are happy to engage on that, but it's totally separate from what we're discussing today. I trust that helps. Over to you, Laka.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Then, if you do have a follow-up question, you are welcome to raise your hand again, and then we'll take it from there. But for now,
Zareen?
Yeah,
Laka, there's
Zareen.
a few hands up.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Mark. Zareen,
Hi, good
please do
morning.
come in.
Thanks. Thank you. I have also two questions. The one is more in terms of the definitions of the persons that need to submit the third-party data. In instances where there are, say, two independent agents involved with the same landlord, whether there would be some guidance or more information available for us to have almost like a tiebreaker to see which one is the reporting obligator. And then the second question is in terms of the rollout phase one timelines. Have you got any timelines in mind that we can know to work with?
Zareen, could we just understand your issue of
Yes.
two agents involved, please?
Okay,
When would
I
that
think
happen?
that is where more in the digital space where there is a digital platform involved and then also the physical persons involved.
Yes, but I mean, through whom does the rental flow?
Both. That's kind of where the tricky part comes in.
Okay, I think what we need to do is understand that one specifically. Zareen, we'd like to understand that. Please, if you could get us the details through your regulating body, that we can at least try that. On the second one, Laka can comment.
Correct. So in terms of our plan for that, we are still in the engagement process. We don't have concrete timelines at the moment because we want to make sure that when we do go out, we have your full support to make sure that we don't implement a project that fails. So we want to consult and make sure that there is an understanding so that when we move on to the implementation phase, everybody is on board and there are no issues with that regard. I think we talked a few about how this data would be submitted through which channels, but there was the e-filing that was mentioned, which is our normal low volume transactions, and then we've got a little bit more sophisticated secure web transfer, or sometimes referred to as HTTPS. And even if you have 1 million clients, then we've got something that can cater for you in the correct Connect Direct space. All right. Let me take Nisha. There was another hand. I think it went down. Just please re-raise. I did note, but didn't take the name. Nisha, you're on.
He's muted.
Okay, so Nisha is still muted. All right, so let's see. On our timeline there, maybe do post your, okay. You're back on. Try again, Nisha.
Hi, yes. Can you hear
There we
me?
go. Very well.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Just checking. I use PayProp systems for all my rental management, not placement though. So I don't really need to worry about this, do I? Or because PayProp generally provides all that data.
Well, I think that needs to be seen, and you'll see in the chat that PayProp will try and engage with us. But today, you must remember the legal obligation rests with you. How it's facilitated is a different issue to the legal obligation.
Yeah. All right.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I think it lessens the burden on you if we can receive everybody's data who's subscribed to PayProp. If it flows in the current structure that we've provided, that actually makes it less burdensome on you. So that's probably might work in your favor.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Martin. Did I say that right?
My apologies. I was meant to unmute and everything, and I accidentally raised. I wasn't meant to be here. Thank you for today. It's very informative. Warm regards from Cape Town.
Oh, thank you with the Cape Town weather across the country. But yeah, I hope that covers everything. I don't see another hand. Nisha's hand. Opa, you had a follow-up.
It's a mistake.
Oh no, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I was just one of my colleague also just indicated to say that if there is a deadline. So on this thing, are we saying is there a specific on our website, a specific folder and maybe a training? How do we submit? And also, are we not going to find ourselves having some challenges with the landlord? Do we have to give them a consent? A consent form to indicate that now we'll be submitting the information to SARS, or we don't need to do two things. Yeah, the consent for us to be able to upload their information as per this. Do we really need that, or because it's a mandatory legal mandatory for us to do that? And also, is there a particular platform like the way in which we file return specifically? Because I don't know, I've never tried before, but I know sometimes within our industry you find that I can have a property within 2 months, we exchange amongst ourselves. Those duplicates, sometimes the other person now changes on the rental month income, But I don't know, because for me, I feel like it's not going to be easy like that. There might be some complications there and there. So it's just my a little bit of a reservation, and I'm not so sure. But yeah, otherwise, I'm not resistant to change. I'm willing to give it a try. Thanks.
100%, and we appreciate that. Thanks for that. Let me start off with the where there's like multiple property practitioners managing the same property within the same period of a year of the submission. So for the system will allow that. It means that if you had a property that you were managing with a rental tenant in there, for the period that you were managing and there was a money flow that was coming this way to yourself, then you would submit for that period. And the next agent that is coming in would also have to do the same thing. The system allows you to do that. We have tested that scenario, and it is flexible. It does allow us to be able to do that. In terms of our training, and or register on e-filing to be able to submit this data that we are requesting. We plan on having a manual, and you would guide us if you did a manual input form on e-filing, that you would type in all the information that is required for the period, and then you would submit. That's the lesser of the more complicated processes. But if you are dealing with extensive data, obviously that's not feasible. So then you move up into the next tier where we are talking about a file preparation, where you would do a text file with all this information, all of your tenants, your landowners, the income and expenses, and be able to submit that forward. And that also, we will have a period where for those who are subscribed to the channels such as Connect Direct and Secure Web or HTTPS, we take you through our testing phase so that you are comfortable with being able to submit this information, and therefore it doesn't become a challenge when you're in production by yourselves. So please, we will post this information and then we'll communicate, obviously, even through the PPRA to say um, now we are at this stage. So please, if you are interested in doing trade testing, and that's the keyword that we usually use, and maybe it might mean something else for you, but in our end, trade testing means that we are giving you the opportunity to come into our test environment, experience the system, tell us what is working for you, and maybe help us find some defects that are within the systems that we have not yet thought about, and then be able to fix that. Okay, and then I think there was a third part to your question. Okay, my notes don't do. Oh, the consent. Okay, I would have loved, Mark, in terms of the consent part, we did cover it. We said there are what do you call it, exceptions to especially the
POPI Act.
POPI Act. There we go. The POPI Act that allows SARS to receive this information and gives that exception to SARS. So for that reason, I don't think you have to worry about that. Once
I think we need to address it though, and we need to quote the law. I think we have to give the comfort to the role players in the room.
Correct. I think, Adele, I see Adele. I was looking for Adele. Adele, just please, just a few points on the POPI Act and our third-party data notice, if you may, please. Adele?
Hi, Nicole, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much.
That's good. Sorry, man, I'm busy with an opinion on this side. Can you just tell me, you asked a question about the POPI Act.
So just clarify the POPI Act in terms of the members being concerned about having their landowners giving or landlords giving consent for them to share their information to SARS, and how we are covering that in terms of the exception that is provided as part of the POPI Act.
Yeah. I would have to go back to the POPI Act again, Lekau, because we've got a few exceptions with regards to information that needs to be provided to SARS. And then I would have to revert with an answer. I haven't looked at the POPI Act for quite a while.
Yeah.
But we will come back. Thanks. And maybe just to inform, Adele Collins is in our tax policy and she deals with the legal drafting. So thanks, Adele. But let's get back to the property practitioners with the that requirement in writing, I would suggest.
Writing.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you very much, Adele. We'll get that. All right. So then we've got Serena. You've got your hand up. Please do come in.
Yes. Good day. Good day.
Good day.
So please excuse me for being frank, but my understanding is that the obligation is on the taxpayer or the landlord to provide SARS with the documentation for all their taxable income. For now, so it seems to be that burden
Sorry, Serena.
Sorry.
I think we've got somebody who's got a mic up.
Okay. It seems to be that burden has been shifted now to the property practitioners, and whether it's new or old legislation, it's immaterial. The point is, I think a lot of us didn't know about it in the industry. There's hundreds of people that are not on this webinar. I know there was a previous one held with the PPRA, and there was an absolute outcry because the feeling is that we are now having to have this administrative burden. It's going to cost us more, therefore we're going to charge more, and and we doing SARS's job, because ultimately it's up to the individual to get a tax practitioner to submit their obligations to SARS, and it's up to SARS then to say, can we please have supporting documentations, or to choose who they're going to audit, and provide this supporting documentation. Now expecting us, we have just been through the whole thing with having to register with FEEC and dealing with the PPRA with all the separate licensing requirements, and now expecting the property practitioner to do this as well. I think you're overestimating what we are capable of. That's just my 5 cents worth.
Serena, I'd like to respond, because I think it's not about taking the landlord's responsibility. The landlord keeps his or her responsibility to submit their tax returns. But as we have data coming from the banks, as we have data coming from the insurance company, the retirement annuities, the medical schemes, and so we can go through the whole list that has been in the law for many a year. This is no different. This is a submission of third-party data relating to financial transactions that happen. So, if we were to say that we will not have any third-party data provided by anybody, that defeats the fundamental building block that's been within the tax system since the inception in 1962, where IT3s, for example, from banks came from the banks going back then, yes, in paper format. And this is no different in terms of that.
Yeah, I do understand, but I think what's going to happen is once the landlords become aware that we are going to be submitting this documentation or having to do so, they're going to really not require property practitioners to do the job. They'll use us for maybe procurement, maybe collections, but they won't give us expenses, and we're not going to get the full picture, so we're not going to be able to comply.
If you are simply doing, and Lekau, you need to help me here in terms of this, but they are simply obtaining the rental and passing it on, etc. There is no requirement that you have additional information pertaining to costs. because they're costs of the landlords to deduct. To the extent that the landlord, the property practitioner is involved, that is the data that we're asking for. We're not asking for any additional data, very importantly. Is that correct, Lekau?
And that is correct, Mark. We want what is in the purview of the
property
practitioners. And
yeah, or
that's
attorney,
why
by the way.
correct, or the attorneys. And if the reason why we want to have this consultative process is so that if we have put in some detail that is normally not as part of, because you are the experts of this field, you are helping us or advising us of the process, how that usually works. And that's, we are happy to or consider some of the fields that we have in our requirements in this case. Yeah.
Maybe just to further say, Serena, if we were to assume you are correct, are we saying that we can allow non-compliance with law? And this is a fundamental building block of building a compliant society who does what is right in terms of paying taxes. People, and we see it all the time, that people are receiving rental and they are not declaring it. And this is just but one building block to ensure that it's properly done. And by the way, internationally, it is the practice in other jurisdictions. So just to note that.
Thank you, Mark. Linda, if you've got a comeback, please do come back in. I'll give you the option now or later. All right, thank you. Let me take Komisho.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also just add on what Serena said. I think I agree with her to some extent because the additional burden from our side, as well as now this may affect our business. So I'm just wondering, I mean, there's other ways that you can find out if a landlord has other properties. I mean, the deeds office can give you the list of other properties that they have. And if you know that they're not staying there, then that could be an indicator that they're getting rental from there. So I'm just asking, did you guys consider other ways that you can get the information that you need? Or this is the best you can do?
So maybe just to say we get that data as well. But the principle of the third-party data filing, which covers multiple areas, was to validate all data, because the deeds office does not carry whether the properties, let's say it's registered in a trust, the nature of that, for example. And it becomes very difficult in terms of managing. We do get the deeds data, and in terms of this process that we have.
All right, and yeah, so there's a gap in terms of the information that we have, and in the process of filling in all the gaps, the property practitioners are very key in filling in some of those gaps. There are other information, as Mark has alluded to, with the deeds data and the property ownership and all that, but we still don't have the rental spaces, the information relating to rental of those properties, if any. Now that is a challenge, and unfortunate or fortunately for us, or I don't know, it sounds like it for you. It sounded like Komisho is saying it's unfortunate for you that you have to fill in that gap, but you are the trusted source. Without doing a very much else besides that, there's just going to be a flow of information that instead of going to the landlord only. Now it also has to come to the SARS in this case. And we want to make sure that this process is not burdensome. So, which is why we want to give you multiple options for you to be able to do this. I want to say in less than 5 minutes, but that it also depends on how your structure of your data is kept also. But let me pause there and take Lorraine or Lorienne.
Lorraine.
Lorraine.
So I don't think you're hearing us. And this is my biggest concern here, because I can tell you now, after 30 years in this industry, doing this job, that the minute the landlords become aware that we're going to have to do this, they're going to withdraw their properties. So therefore, this industry is going to die. And I don't think that this has been considered. You are literally increasing unemployment because you're going to have a whole lot of rental property practitioners that are no longer going to have a job. Landlords are not going to be happy with the fact that we have to provide this information. That's one thing. The other thing is my administrators are already busy. They are so busy. We have a massive book. Now I'm going to have to employ someone else to do this job. Who's covering that salary? And then lastly, we're not tax practitioners. So are we supposed to register as tax practitioners now, as well as all the other stuff that we have to have? I'm very concerned about the fact that this is going to cripple this industry.
Lorraine, can I ask you, have you made any submissions to us in writing?
Well, we've never been given any email addresses. I was on the last thing. And everybody raised these concerns, these exact concerns at the last conversation with the PPRA.
I hear you, but I want to reiterate, this is not a new requirement. The law was published publicly, and nobody has ever argued about it being in the public domain and the requirement being there.
Let's be honest. When the laws are published, where are they published? Who pays attention to that? Let me ask SARS, have you specifically sent an email out to all the property practitioners saying, hey guys, there's this new law, or there's this law. You guys need to be aware of it. I've never received anything. Through Robosa, through the PPRA, up until recently, this is the first time I've ever heard of this.
And prior to the PPRA, where did you belong? The State Agents Board?
Yes.
We engaged with them, and I've engaged in my lifetime because I've been part of the furniture here, with them as well, and raised this matter with them in years past.
Have you ever really dealt with them? Do you know what property practitioners go through with the PPRA?
Well, I do understand that. Can I ask you a separate question? Do you believe, or do you have a representative body of estate agents outside the regulatory framework?
Robosa, yes, we do.
And where are they?
And they also never let us know about this.
Can they not engage us collectively?
Well, I will definitely be contacting them because I'm very concerned that this is going to close us down. Then you're not going to get the information anyway.
But Lorraine, can I ask you, do you concur with people not paying their rightful portion of tax?
Of course not. I pay my tax. But does that then become my responsibility and threaten my livelihood because I have to report to SARS? Of course, I think people should pay their tax. But how does that then become my responsibility and threaten my livelihood, the livelihood of my agents, the livelihood of my administrators?
Why would we have a requirement in law where banks provide the information? What's the difference?
They're the banks. We are property practitioners that are now expected to be tax consultants on top of everything else that we have to do on a daily basis. As soon as I tell my landlords that we are going to have to do this, we are going to have properties being withdrawn from us left, right, and center, I might as well close my doors today.
And maybe let me ask Lorraine. So I'm interested in the reasons why your landlords would withdraw, because then that would help guide me in terms of where else do we need to to look in terms of this type of compliance now?
Well, their banks, you're already saying that you're getting the information from their banks, so then you should be able to see what other income they're getting in. Not so?
No,
You do?
I'm saying yes, we do, but in terms of the reason why your landlords would withdraw from you as the property
Because they
practitioner,
don't want their information being given out by us. That's why.
okay, but we already
Look,
received
I think
this information.
what,
But yeah,
Lorraine, I would strongly urge that you guys, through your representative body, not your regulatory body, through your representative body, engage with us. So there's a collective voice that we understand. But the fact that the challenge is that people will leave you because of the tax liability that may flow, I doubt will hold water with us going forward. So
that much we can hear.
But I am sensitive to this, but at the same stage, we have to engage and understand the nuances, and that's what we're doing. We haven't set a date yet. We haven't engaged beyond that. Have we had written submissions on this, Lekau?
No, not yet.
Not at all. Okay, then just very importantly, this is against the law, a statement? It is not against the law. It's being done, and we'll provide the POPI information in due course, and we'll give that to you. But from my point of view, there are specific let-outs in the POPI Act that allow for this to be done, and we'll provide that information. But
I'm not even concerned about the POPI Act. I mean,
no, I understand.
But what I'm concerned about is
I'm commenting on what's in the chat. No, I hear you. But industry needs to engage through their representative body. We've got a specific stakeholder team in the private sector because your regulatory body falls under the public sector one, stakeholder team, and then we've got a private sector, and we're open to engage.
I just think this is going to close our doors. I can tell you without a doubt this is going to close our doors. We might as well close doors now at this rate. I know landlords. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what's going to happen.
Okay.
And I just wonder where the consideration is for the industry itself. Where, landlords trust us with their information. They trust us to manage their properties. We now say to them, and I'm going to have to let them know, obviously. So as their leases are coming up, they're going to go, thanks, I'll do it myself. Goodbye. But
there's absolute, I hear you, Lorraine, but I want to urge that your representative body takes it up with SARS. It just makes it easier to deal with the collective. So just to also state, to Paul's comment, they can still claim, and we'll make that clear, we'll provide that. But I want to reiterate what Lekau said earlier. This is an engagement process, but it's an engagement process on the application of law that's been in place for many, many years. That's all we're doing. We're not brought in new law with this. We haven't done that. We are simply trying to apply the law as it is written. But we understand the challenges that Lorraine and others are highlighting, but we are prepared to engage with us, with your body, that we can try and take it forward in terms of a process. I think let's open the floor to other questions, Lekau.
Correct.
Yeah, I've got another meeting anyway, so I have to go. Goodbye.
Thanks, Lorian. Very sensitive to that comment, and that's a strong comment coming from Lorian there, and there seems to be some support from for that. But we also need to take cognizance of the fact that we, as the SARS, have got an obligation to collect the revenue and make sure that the country works. And we cannot sit by on the sidelines and then allow people who are not willing to come forth and pay their share of their tax as said. Different applications of the collection process will follow as it does for currently for some of those. But let me take, is that Frida? Frida James, please come in. How far is the mic? Okay, we'll come back to you. Linda, is your hand still up? Linda? Yeah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you. Come in.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I also deal with quite a few rentals, and with regard to Lorraine's comments and stuff, obviously, I think we are going to have some people here and there that might leave us, but I'm sure eventually everybody will come by to start doing it. My actual question that I have is, will there be a format made available through the PPRA in the meantime from SARS to just let us know what information we need to actually get together from to enable us to submit and comply with what you require of us. You know, that will really assist us if we do not receive that on last minute, so that we can actually start preparing our books and stuff, and so that we can actually comply with the ITRAs. And then also another question, you know, for what effective tax year do you plan to actually get this rolled out? Because obviously you must please try and understand our situation as well. We also have company compliances that we need to do for ourselves, our businesses, trust accounts, etc. So end of May, there's quite a few things happening in the SARS situation that time of the year. And then obviously we will have to inform the landlord that we're going to have to do that as from effective tax year February 26 or February 27, whatever the case may be. And then with regard to the ITRA that we need to fill in, we are not as agents always aware of what the landlord is paying towards expenses as a bond, building insurance, etc. So we sometimes do not have all the expenses that is actually incurring on the property. And sometimes they pay it from their own pocket. We don't always deduct it, you know. So I'm just concerned how effective and correct would that ITRA 3A be then for the purposes of what you want to do. Thank you, that's all.
Okay. And I think when we get past the details of and we start looking at the process and the data itself, that information, what's possible and what's not possible, should be able to come out. We need to get to a point where we are engaging on the field discussion, this field, and that, and so that we can get to understand the scenarios that are available. At the moment, obviously, we are designing for, okay, the straightforward process. There's a landlord, there's a tenant, they pay, and pretty much a straightforward. But there would be nuances that probably we have not thought about, or that actually just arise as part of the operations. And I think that's what we probably need to engage in a different discussion on that one further. The correctness of the ITR process, I think I would, Khomotso, please help me with the costing there, because that's been a cry for that one. Just check for me, and I'll allow you a moment to come in, where we just look at, we are asking for the income of that, and then if you're not getting the expenses, and we understand that there are parts where they don't always deduct the expenses, it's Yeah, we would need to look at that and then see how we can factor that in the process.
Cal, let me come in here because I think it's a very important issue, and that's part of the practice. If you are simply an agent who sources a tenant and you rent out the property and the rent comes in less your commission and it's paid on to the landlord, we wouldn't expect information beyond that. We wouldn't want you to get information outside the scope of your mandate with that landlord. So just very importantly, with that in mind. And the reason we're engaging is with a view to try and get to what's right in terms of the process. Now, I understand that the views as expressed by Lorraine, and I fully understand her view, but we're more than happy to engage in terms of the content of the business requirement specification to make sure it's aligned to what the reality is in the business.
100%. Now, the last point with regards to the period of the year. So we would like to give you a year's notice. And from this point, so we are probably looking at next year, 2026 towards the early 2027 for the implementation of the project. It wouldn't be something that you would know today and then tomorrow we say we are going live with it. You need to provide this information. It's going to be a process. It will be multiple engagements. Now we are starting with the principles, then we get into the technical matters, and then down to the details of what needs to be done for you to be able to, which button to click in order to get that right. And that's what we want to work on this journey with you, the property practitioners, on. All right.
Thank you, sir. Just one more question that might be towards the PPRA. Would there be a problem? Because I mean, there are many agents that are dealing with quite substantial rental books. Would there be a problem from the PPR side, or I don't know who, that if we could charge a fee for dealing with this administrative function, which is actually closer to a function that a bookkeeper or an auditor is usually doing for guys that have many properties. So I'm not sure. That is just a stone that I'm throwing in the bush. Would there be a problem? Because obviously, if there's queries from SARS to the landlord regarding his rental, obviously, I think they are going to come running to us, because now we've been providing information to SARS, so they're going to be expecting us to sort and finalize and sort that out for them. So there comes in the additional time and money spent by the estate agents. So I think that might be, if we can, the PPRA does allow for a fee, I think that might make it a little bit more convenient, or people say, okay, I can actually appoint a lady now to work 3 times a week to actually do these chores and get it done. So it's just a stupid question. I'm not sure how the PPRA would feel about this, that maybe that could make try and make it better for the estate agencies to try and cover costs at least, or part of it. Thank you, that's all.
Okay.
No. Yeah, carry on.
Hi, okay. For that one, can I request that maybe you send me an email and I'll send it to our CFO and the CEO, and they will have to look into that. Let me not confirm on that, but I note that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. You just get an email address.
Yeah. So we'll put the chest. Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I think we need to, this is outside the scope of this engagement, but it's an important question, Leka. Just to state, in terms of short-term rentals, which happens through Lekker, Airbnb and bookings.com and a number of others, there are separate engagements and separate requirements in terms of them providing that data to us, that we engage directly with those short-term entities to provide the data. So just be aware of that.
Thank you, Mark. Right. Serena. Oh no, sorry. That's Frida. Who's next? Apologies, Frida. Farida.
Hi
Farida,
there,
sorry.
can you hear me?
Very well, thank you. Come in.
Hi guys. So I understand the process of what's happening and the reasons behind it. And as you said, this is for you to get suggestions and just ways of what to look out for. So
Correct.
um one thing you need to keep in mind, like all of us have said to you, is rentals keeps us so busy. It's a constant job, and we are not all massive
Then
firms who got
I'm gonna yeah, I'm a word. We
departments.
never, I thought, like, let me just try and call you. We're
Oh,
never
sorry.
gonna
Kemi,
get to each
Sorry,
other.
just
It
Kemi,
feels
can
like
we
some
just
Sorry.
mute, please?
Okay. Yeah, we're muted.
Okay,
Sorry about that,
so
Farida.
yeah, so
Go
we're
on.
not massive firms who's got departments and departments that can handle this. Sometimes we got one or two rental agents, and we are already so inundated with with the workload. But I do understand. So my thing I want to bring to your attention is this: that I personally work with people of all walks of life, and the educated in SARS landlord. He's up to date with his taxes. He knows that he's got to submit information.
Mm.
He's got a bookkeeper that can do it for him. And I understand that we've got certain information that what I get in for the landlord and what I spend in terms of whether it's rates and taxes or whatever the expenses, I will just disclose what I am dealing with. That's all. It's a disclosure from my side. Understand that. Now, the educated landlord, you'll know what to do with the rest. But now we've
Mm.
got the landlord who's not as educated when it comes to tax matters. And whether
Yeah.
they are the older generation, whether they are just the generation who maybe has never had the type of income where they had to be registered for tax. And
Mm.
I can give you an example now. I've got a landlord who's approached me for a town council house that I've got to rent out. This is his little bit of extra money. It's a house he inherited from his family. He's got a different property. If I go back to that landlord and I tell him that, listen, one of the things I'm going to do is disclose to SARS that you're getting income from this. And I don't know if this little bit of income he gets in puts him into the taxable bracket or not, because I don't know his finances. And
Yeah.
he realizes that he's got to now, for the first time in his life, either approach a bookkeeper or get knowledge on this. He's not going to use me. And as much as you know what, as much as it's a smaller income rental, at the end of the day, this is what we deal with as agents, and every client is important to us, no matter the amount of revenue the rental brings in, because 10 of those, make up an income for us. So
Mm.
my
Mm.
suggestion would be for you guys to have kind of look at um, how do we get past that kind of scenario, because everybody must pay tax after all. And if we've got people, educated people in SARS matters, it's their responsibility to disclose to SARS or to submit and pay their taxes. But what about the other guy, the guy that doesn't have a clue, and to tell him now, listen, at the age of 50, you now need to start getting a clue. We're
Yeah.
not going to have work.
100%. And we hold responsibility as SARS to also educate in that regard. And for the layman who has not had to engage normally with SARS, with
Yeah.
less complex incomes that are coming in, and then recently with our auto assessment that has been going on, there will be more of those people who just where text just happens, as we term it in the SaaS environment, and that's where we want to go. And eventually, we want to have an environment where even for you, text just happens, where you don't have to worry about all of these things. And I understand it's gonna be a mountain to climb to get this data organized, and but once all of those systems are in place, we are talking about a submission twice a year. So where you just collate that information and then you just put it towards the system and then it comes through. And I think we do acknowledge the steep curve is definitely going to be getting that information sorted and organized and collected according to the specification that was provided. And I think after this session, we'll share the specification again. Unfortunately, it's a lengthy document with just the specifics of what each field means, what needs to be in that field and the rules around it. But it's a simplified format of data that we are looking for. There was something else I wanted to cover. Just follow up, Farida.
So I hear what you are saying about what you are planning to do, but I'm just, for instance, there's one client, if you are saying
Yes.
it's going to be a simplified method and we have to climb this mountain and so forth and so forth. And once again, that pushes the responsibility of education back on us. Time and effort and energy that we really don't have to be out there educating people about this. Now, if for instance, this specific client, he's not even gonna keep receipts in terms of what little bit of work he does to the place. So now I've got to educate him and say, listen, keep all your receipts, which one would normally do, but so my suggestion is just have a look at the income brackets, right? And the level of what type of client we're working at. And maybe there can be some sort of exemption where we don't need to declare on every single rental or I don't know. I'm just grasping now, but
No,
I'm
I
trying to
hear where
figure
you're
out a
going.
way, how can this be done so that that specific client doesn't get such a fright that he actually says, oh no, this is too much PT for me. Let me just advertise in the community bulletin and then take it from there and see if I get a tenant,
No,
But that was basically
100%.
just what I wanted to
Lacan,
raise, just for you to look at for a solution.
100%. Mark?
Lacan, I think very importantly, any of these proposals, if we could formulate them through Robosa, it would be very helpful to us. And I think that's what we'd like to do.
Thank you. And Farida, your point is noted, and obviously Mark's suggestion to have a one voice through Robosa on some of the suggestions that are probably looking for an alternative process would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Serena?
Yes, hi. So I'm just wondering, does this, do I need to report if we're doing merely a bookkeeping service and sending out rental statements for the landlord, and it's going into his own account and we're doing bookkeeping for him? Does that mean I have to report on that?
Are you
Or
getting?
is it only if it flows through the agent's trust
Can I,
account?
so can we read just the law? Because I think that it's a person who, for their own account, carries on the business of a property practitioner as defined, who pays to or receives on behalf of a third party any amount of the rental of property. That's the law.
Okay, so if it goes into the landlord's account, we're doing bookkeeping services, we don't do collection or anything like that, that the
Correct.
lawyers do that, then we don't report.
Correct.
Okay, and then the other
That's the
thing
way I
is,
would understand it.
okay, the other thing is in terms of what somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Linda, I can see many agents, especially in the beginning, trying to comply when this happens and getting it wrong. So some of the information is not going to be correct. In other words, either the income's not going to be correct because they didn't actually, they billed the rent X amount, but the person only paid another amount. But now they're reporting that they collected on the larger amount. Similar with the expenses, things can go wrong. What protection from liability do they have when SARS comes back with questions to the landlord, and now the landlord turns to us saying, you know, look what you've submitted, it's all wrong, it's pre-populated now, and we now have to deal with SARS to sort it out.
But firstly, Serena, maybe just to clarify, third-party data is not by itself a gospel truth. And there is scope for engagement in terms of that. But very importantly, we will not pre-populate on the first iteration. There will be a process whereby this data is provided and we ensure the data's accuracy. Yep. By the way, banks even today are making mistakes, and they correct the third-party data, and then it gets resubmitted, and we can correct the processes behind the scenes.
Correct.
So really, we take quite an iterative process and a collaborative process in ensuring compliance in this regard. So it's not a big brother, do it this way or else. It's a collaborative approach.
Okay, so I understand if the banks made an error, you go back to the banks and then the banks have to correct it, which will be
corrected. It's the same with payrolls, with IRP5s. It's the same with medical schemes, with their medical claiming data that they've got on behalf of individuals, etc.
Yeah, I understand, except banks and medical schemes, and that these are huge corporate companies. And with the, you know, property practitioners, you're dealing with a lot of very small businesses that don't have the systems or in place to be able to just simply pull a report that's going to give all this information.
I understand, but Serena, just that's where we want to make it as easy as possible. Just with regards to other entities, so there's even a requirement in law for a trust, an individual trust, to provide information to us on a twice annual basis. Public benefit organizations, non-profits, who issue tax-deductible receipts have a similar obligation. So it's very much recognized in terms of process. So just be aware of that. But we're here to engage, and that's what we're trying to do.
100%. Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate the engagement. Thank you.
And yes, Farida. So in the system, in the case where the organization is smaller, that's where SARS provides the tools to be able to comply with this. So the e-filing platform that will provide would be your system that you'll be able to use to do that. Now, the only thing that you just need to make sure is that in your background on your Excel sheet, you've got all the organized data accordingly. And SARS will provide you with the system to be able to submit the information. So yeah, I do appreciate the lack of resources to support, but I think there's a meeting ground that we can find between ourselves where we can work together to make sure this happens. All right. Ma'am Mana, you're recognized?
Can you hear me?
Very well. Yes, you are.
There we go. I just want to confirm what Farida and Lorraine and everybody else said as well. They said it very nicely. I understand that our speaker, sorry, I missed the first part, so I'm not 100% sure who I'm talking to. But I appreciate what he said regarding being compliant and all that, and I'm sure every single property practitioner is trying to get all the compliances in order as we go along. But what the speaker fails to recognize is that a bank has got a whole department, and a non-profit and all of those guys has got a whole department that actually covers all these things and make sure that compliances are done and all. We as property practitioners have perhaps one or two by ourselves doing all the admin, and it sounds like we're complaining the whole time, but I don't think you guys really understand what we have to do to stay compliant as well as earn an income. I mean, our expenses at this stage, just petrol, cell phone, basic things to run the company is already so sky high, and every time it goes up, every time there's a problem somewhere and we have to comply with a new law, we have to get a new system, all of the small things adds up. And at the end of the day, we want to comply. I mean, it's the law. We are not, you know, that we don't want to comply. But all of this adds up. And now if we go and add another admin person just to run this, and I also understand twice a year is not that bad. But in the meantime, for the rest of the 12 months, we have to gather all this information. And I also understand what you're saying. You want to make it as simple as possible. But just to implement the FICA that you gave us a while back, just to get all that done, you cannot believe how the sellers and buyers and tenants and you know, all of that, how they were hesitant to give us more of their personal information. Because at the end of the day, if you meet somebody on the street and you are busy renting or selling or buying or whatever, to give out all this information with all the warnings, you know, don't give out too much information and all of that. Some people are just scared. Let's be honest. You know, now to even go into their tax things as well, it just creates a bigger problem and a bigger loop. So I would just really appreciate it if you guys just think of maybe go with with a property practitioner one day and just spend one day with us and see what we do, especially in rentals. Rentals is 10 times more work for a quarter or even less of the salary that you get from any other job out there. So you have to compound to actually get a proper salary. And then your admin is so much that you have to get an admin person and then a second one just to keep your head above water. And I don't really think that you guys honestly understand what we have to deal with on a daily basis. I mean, for the past 2 nights, I had to go out at 11:30 at night because there was a pipe bursting, there was a roof that fell in, and all of that. Our owners expect us, you know, they rely on us to do the maintenance, to do all of that. And now all of this must go into a document that we must submit to you. So I really would like you to maybe spend a day with a rental agent, especially, just to see what we have to do and then come back and say, okay, now I understand what you have to do on a daily basis. And now you can see, okay, this is the FIC we have to do. This is the you know, all the documents. So where are we going to fit the SARS part of it in as well? And I really want to just explain to you the extent of what we have to do to keep all of this, you know, all the points together. And on top of that, now we have to go to the landlords and the tenants and this and that and so on and say, oh, by the way, now SARS, it is law, but SARS says that we have to report on you as well. So here's another document. I don't, it can be as simple as what you wanted to make it, but to have another document as it is, just the pack of papers I have to give my landlords at the moment is 36 pieces of paper. So now I have to add another one or two. You know, it's just so overwhelming for a person to get these papers and say, oh, okay, so now you're going to report on me at SARS as well. So I'm not saying that we won't do it. We will comply. If it's law, we have to comply. That's fine. But I just want you to understand, and even to go through our body, that you know, with the PPRA and all of that, the PPRA systems at the moment is very slow. We you know, going through all of that. And I appreciate they're also busy refurbishing and all of their systems and all of that. But please just keep in mind that we are really working, I almost want to say 10 times harder and 10 times more than any other profession in South Africa, just to get a salary out, just to feed our families and just to keep our people that we employed. And if you
Appreciate
are
that.
going to put one extra thing on top, and it sounds terrible, but I'm telling you, if you put one extra thing on top and we make a mistake, like Farida said, if there's something we do wrong in that form that you are requiring from us, that would mean that we have to go back and redo it. And that's going to mean another 2, 3, 4 hours out of our week, out of our day, whatever the case might be. And that means it's a whole day out of our week. And just one day out of a 5-day week means we are back almost 2 weeks. If that makes sense to you, because
I appreciate
you know,
that.
so please just keep in mind that it's not a normal job.
Right, and I think let me say this, Farid. Are you comfortable to disclose your agency or your company? So if you are, then we have our process engineer here in Khomotso.
Are you talking to me or to the
Oh, Manna,
current?
sorry. Manna.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you were still number 1 there. Okay, so your hand was still not lowered, so I was apologies for that. So Manna, the agency that you work for, if you do not mind, as the first volunteer in this case,
let them mail you rather,
yes, yeah,
let them mail you.
Please mail us, and then we will take on your invite. We will come and sit with you for the day and go through your process and see the hardships that you go through and understand the other side of this. So that, and please do get in touch with us. I've just noted your name. I will check your email on the side so that we can understand some and get to appreciate at a deeper level some of the concerns that you are raising. Not that we don't, but very important. We welcome that, and a site visit through your offices would appreciate that very much.
We would appreciate it, yes. Can you please maybe put your email address in the comments, then I can get in contact with you?
That's fine, will do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, there were 2 hands, one went down. Tamuka? Ndambira. You can come in, Tamuga.
Hi guys, how are you?
Very well, very well.
I'm good. I must say I'm quite disappointed because this is our second webinar with you. I believe we had one webinar last year and you guys sent out slides that we could share with the industry, we could go through. My chat is that I'm kind of finding from an individual perspective and as a practitioner, I feel like SARS and PPRA are overlapping their mandates. As a normal citizen of the country, I understand that we've got that legal obligation to pay SARS and would like to see SARS thriving. That's what we want to see in this country. Because the contribution, it adds like vastly to different industries, different entities, different universities. It looks after our elderly. However, we've got our own problem. I don't know if PPRA did highlight the problems that we have internally. Most of our problems internally have not been sorted. Like their system, it's slow, which we still have to understand and say, okay, as industry leaders, as industry participants, can we please accommodate our regulator with what's at hand? We are struggling. We've got our own problems that we're dealing with. We've got FIC that we had to deal with because of the saga of Palapala, which has not been sorted out, which as normal citizens, we cannot vent, we cannot get involved, we can't say anything. However, we are going to say something We are on the ground educating members of the public, educating the other practitioners who are old. And SARS, please note, in terms of demographics, in terms of age, most of our workforce, they are white, they are old. They have to be given information. I must say, I'm quite disappointed that it's expected that our elderly, who are our participants in the industry, are expected to know such notices via Facebook. We are young. When we see things on Facebook, we take them, put them on WhatsApp groups where we are with our elderly partners and tell them what's happening on the ground. So I'm personally disappointed that also it could be raised that we're speaking with one voice with Riposa. We love Riposa. We are members of Riposa. We are members of different industry leaders who are participating in the industry. But we are not speaking in one voice. At this stage, we need to see the proposal. We need the process. We need to see, you need to give us timelines. You're not going to bombard work on us. We don't work for SARS. We don't work for PPRA. PPRA regulates us. We pay them. They charge us. Right now, we're sitting with sanctions of about 25,000. It's insane. And we need to comply with that. We can't comply right now with SARS. Yes, we'd like to assist SARS to get there. But my question to SARS, the last question that I'm leaving, is this our mandate? Is PPRA overlapping its mandate? Did maybe one day meet up with the executives from SARS and they decided over coffee to say, we can help each other. We can't help SARS. SARS has got its own tax practitioners who must assist it. You can go to IRBA, you can go to different participants who can help you. Why come to PPRA and we have to do the work?
Okay, thank you, Tamuka. Mark, I don't know, you want to say anything on that point?
No. I think we're noting these matters raised in terms of the process, but we'll obviously wait for Riposa maybe to put it in writing to us. But yeah, we noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We would appreciate formal through Riposa, please, on that matter. But Linda, I think you might be our last hand in this case, and we can get our closing.
Thank you, sir. My mind's already there where I realize that we are going to have to do this. So my question is actually directed to the technical guys preparing the system for SARS. When considering the compliance process, for example, I sometimes deal with, say, a company that owns a couple of units or a whole complex of residential properties that we are actually leasing out for these guys. So obviously all their rentals go into this company. So on the compliance side, from our side, will I have to report on each and every individual unit in that company, the rental income, or do we deal with that as all the rental that we've collected, say for all 30 units as an example now, to SARS? Because that's a responsible entity is the company to SARS. So I just need you guys to there's so many angles I think that the technical guys will have to consider how rental money comes in and what type of landlords they are. I mean, it's not just individuals. It's actually companies that own properties. So do I now actually report on that income that I've collected for that company for that whole year? Or do I have to break it down? So those are things, stupid compliance, but on our side it can be quite a big thing, you know.
Yes.
To know that are we doing the correct thing, you know. So that is all I need to know. Then I'm happy.
Linda, those are the things we need to talk about and understand the nuances of that. We'll be very, flexible in terms of understanding that type of nuance. But the intent is, if I'm renting out, say, 50 units on behalf of a single corporate, I would prefer to see the single corporate's data as opposed to 50 units data. That would be me personally. I'm not sure what the specification is intended, but that's what we're ultimately getting to, is that we would know what that corporate entity received or that single person received, not the underlying property per se. Lekau, I just do want to respond to Mr. Petsa. And Mr. Petsa, I hear what you're saying, whether we care for you or not. I think if anybody was to comment in terms of myself, I have shown 40 years of care for taxpayers. That has been my nature. And if you go, anybody who knows me will be aware of that. And we are here to do what is right, not to do what suits this or suits that, but to do what is right. And I do care. That's why we're here today. So I'd appreciate that we understand that in terms of the process. But thanks, Lekau. I think I'm going to have to duck out in a moment, but we are available for further engagements, and we look forward to engaging. Just to the one question, they speak of NAMA and I think the IEASA. If we could just get the contact details, and let's make sure in terms of our stakeholder engagement that we have all the contact details in terms of this process.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll email you, Mark.
All right, thank you. All right, so I think I would like to conclude at this point, and thank you very much for the participation, colleagues. And it might sound as if we are not hearing you in terms of your submissions, but I assure you we are. Unfortunately, we are just wearing different caps, and then we just need to find each other in the process so that both of us don't take our cats and just or our heads and just ravish the process and not get anything done in this case. So Mr. Kingong has submitted his email address. That is the one person you can be assured of that he cares for what the you as the taxpayer, you as the third party person is. He's always level-headed in his approach in this case. So that's why we invite him also to help us in these processes. We do have our stakeholder engagement also in the room, and it's okay. You can send to, if you've got Naledi's email, the email will come to me eventually. I've also posted my email, and I welcome the suggestion for our process engineer and together with some of our technical members to do some of this insight visits to gain more reasons as to some of the nuances that might not be worth mentioning on a platform like this. Just a one-on-one conversation that would help us, give us some further detail as to why some of these things might be bigger issues instead of just the minor ones. We will,
I think it's important that we get the transcript, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mark. Naledi, you'll help us with that. I think we're correcting. I think we should have access to that also, but they will also share some of this elsewhere as part of their normal processes. All right, but yeah, so if Marna, you have accepted our site visit, so please do send me an email on that one, and then we'll organize something for that. I want to thank you all, colleagues. It's a journey. This is not the final engagement. It's a process. We look forward to your submissions If there's something that you're not happy with, please do engage your representatives in Ribosa. Let them write to us. Let us have an engagement so that we can resolve some of these things. And then you're not just sitting by yourself and being worried alone. There is a process of engagement that we want to see conclude so that, like I said, by the end of next year, we are at a point where we can say, okay, we understand what this thing is. We are willing, we are happy to go forward with this submission. And I would like to pause it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Lekau. And really, our doors are open to engage further. And we look forward to further engagement. Lekau, if you could have the team call me on Teams after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.